guys, and welcome back to the Learn to Crochet the Easy Way Masterclass. Today is a really exciting day because we are going to be making our second pattern in this course. Today's pattern is going to be the Starlight Infinity Scarf. For this pattern, we're going to be working with all half double crochet, and that is a half treble in the UK. I designed this scarf as a way to make something beautiful, but also to practice your half double crochet stitches. And I will also be introducing a new variation that you can use with any of the basic stitches. So if you ever come across a pattern that talks about working in the front loop only or the back loop only, now you'll know what to do. We won't be working through the front loop only with this pattern, but we will be working through the back loop only, and I'll explain the difference between the two. I will leave a link below that talks all about working in the front loop only versus the back loop only. And that's just if you want to learn a little bit more about this variation. I know in the last lesson I said that that was the last lesson, but really today is the last lesson. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm grateful for everyone who has been participating so far. Let's talk about a few things that you need to know before we get started. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the materials. So in today's pattern, I designed it using Red Heart's Hig Charm yarn. I adore this yarn. I wish I could make everything with it. So I highly recommend trying this yarn out for yourself. But if you can't find it or you just want to use what's in your stash, any medium weight yarn should work just fine. The only thing is that for this yarn, there's about 432 yards, and because there's so much yardage in this skein, I only needed to use one ball, which is fantastic. But if you are using a different yarn, then you might need to buy two skeins because it's not typical that they have that much yardage in there. So if you're going to use a different yarn, just make sure that you grab two just in case. I also wanted to note that throughout this pattern, while I'm teaching you how to make it, I also talk a lot about the structure of the pattern because I like to explain other things that you might find in future patterns just so that you're aware whenever you branch out. So the tutorial might go a little bit slow there. And also, speaking of slowness, if you feel like it's going too fast, just click the three dots in the corner and you can change the playback speed so that it goes a little bit slower. And you can do the same thing for any of the previous tutorials as well if you feel like I ever go too fast. And the last thing to note is that because I only used one skein for this scarf, I didn't have to add on a new ball of yarn, so I didn't show it. But if you did choose a different yarn and you need to know how to add on a new ball, I will leave a link for a video tutorial explaining how to do that. So that should help. All right, I think that's about it. So without further delay, let's crochet. So for today's scarf pattern, you're going to need one skein of Red Heart Hig Charm in any color that you want, but I am using Starlight today. You will also need a 6.5 millimeter hook. So without further ado, let's get started. First things first, we're going to create a slip knot. So go ahead and do that whichever way you prefer. Insert your hook, pull tight to close. Make sure that it's loose enough to go back and forth, but not too loose. And now you're going to chain 27. So yarn over, pull through that loop on your hook. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and that's how you chain. All right, once you have your chain of 27, we're going to half double crochet into the third chain from your hook. So find that third chain. Remember that this loop does not count as a chain. So we have 1, 2, and 3. So you'll yarn over, insert your hook into that third chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through all 3 loops to complete your half double crochet. Now you're going to half double crochet in each stitch across. Again, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Now just continue half double crocheting in each chain down the row. Now that you've half double crocheted into each chain down the row, you should have 25 half double crochets. This chain 2 that we skipped at the beginning does not count as a stitch. So now for row 2, we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. And now we're looking at the back side of the row that we just made. Now for row 2, we're going to half double crochet in the back loop only of each stitch across. So if you see within the pattern, BLO means back loop only. If you see this abbreviation in any future patterns, that's what this means, so back loop only. To crochet into the back loop only, you're going to yarn over your hook, and we're still doing half double crochet. So instead of going through both of these loops like we normally do, we're just going to go through the back loop. So we have our front loop here and our back loop back here. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook just into that back loop. So you're kind of going in between both of those loops and just catching that back loop. Now yarn over, pull up a loop, you'll have your 3 loops. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And also, because the chain 2 does not count as a half double crochet, we're placing our first half double crochet into the first stitch. Now let's try that again. So yarn over, insert your hook into the back loop only of the next stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert your hook into that back loop only, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. I think I said 2 last time, but I meant 3. All right, now continue half double crocheting in the back loop only of each stitch across. All right, so because we just half double crocheted into the back loop only, we have this sort of ridge here. And this ridge here is just the front loop that we skipped. So it creates this sort of ridged pattern, which I think is really beautiful. Now I'm just gonna say this one more time. Because the chain 2 at the beginning of the row does not count as a stitch, whenever you come upon the chain 2, you're not going to be crocheting into that top loop. So don't mistake that for a stitch. Remember that you should have 25 half double crochet in each row. So let's go ahead and count that really quick. So for the half double crochet, I'm just going to go ahead and count by the post. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 is our last stitch. So if you see that your rows are becoming uneven, make sure that you have 25 stitches in each row. Now for row 3, we're going to chain 2, so 1, 2, and turn our work. And now we're just going to half double crochet in each stitch across. So yarn over, insert your hook into that very first stitch. Remember to go under both loops this time because we're just creating a regular half double crochet. So this part's easy. Just go ahead and half double crochet in each stitch across just as normal. Now for row 4, we're just going to repeat row 2. Row 2 was to half double crochet into the back loop only of each stitch across. So again, you're going to yarn over and insert your hook into just that back loop. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. So you're just going to repeat that across, just like we did in row 2. Now we officially have our row repeat. So you're just going to be repeating rows 2 and 3 until you reach your desired length. If you'd like to create a really long scarf, just keep repeating rows 2 and 3 until you reach about 65 inches or just until you're satisfied with the length. And then tie off your work and weave in your ends as usual. If you want to create an infinity scarf, you can go until about 60 inches, or you can even do less if you want an infinity scarf that really hugs your neck, or you can do it longer if you'd like a more relaxed scarf. I'm going to make mine about 56 inches because I think these kinds of infinity scarves just really hug your neck and get you all cozy for the winter. But again, that's personal preference, so if you'd like to make yours longer, you feel free to do that. Now the pattern says repeat rows 2 and 3 until you reach 60 inches, ending on a row 2. So what this means is your last row is going to be what it told you to do in row 2. So our last row here is all half double crochet in the back loop only. So again, if you ever see that in a future pattern, it just means to end on the row that's specified. Now, before we go on to see how to create an infinity scarf, I wanted to show you what this pattern started to look like. So here we have our full scarf, and you can see this really beautiful ridged pattern. This side looks much better, and that's why we call this the right side. The other side is called the wrong side. So again, if you ever see that in a pattern, you'll want to make sure that you can identify the right side versus the wrong side. It's not always important to know which is the wrong side versus the right side. It just depends on the pattern that you're making. Sometimes the wrong side and the right side look exactly the same. Now, to turn this into an infinity scarf, we're just going to fold it in half. So we're going to find the bottom of the scarf, which is right here. And you'll want to make sure that when you fold your work in half, that the right sides are facing in. So these are the right sides, and this is the wrong side. All right, so here we have it. We have both. This is the last row, and this is our foundation row. Now what you're going to do is insert your hook into that first stitch and grab the bottom half and insert your hook into that first stitch also. Now yarn over and pull that strand through both stitches and through the loop on your hook. And that's a slip stitch. Now insert your hook into the next stitch of the first half and then into the next stitch on the other side. So we're just seaming these 2 rows together to make one big circle. So just continue slip stitching your rows together, making sure that you have everything lined up. It might be a little tricky to get into the foundation row, but that's pretty normal. Now, as long as you have 25 stitches on each row, your seam should line up perfectly. All right, now once you have the last stitch, you're going to yarn over, grab your scissors, and give yourself a couple inches so you can weave in your ends and cut your yarn. Now you're going to pull that strand all the way through and pull tight to secure. Now to weave in your ends, first I'm going to take the beginning strand and my end strand and just tie a little knot. And then I'll grab my tapestry needle and thread that. You should have given yourself at least 5 inches for the tail here so you could weave it in. And then it's really simple to weave in your ends, but there's no exact science. So we're just going to find a couple places to really insert our tapestry needle and secure those ends so that they don't come out and unravel our project. I always like to make sure to go in at least 3 different directions, but I'm going to go across this row here, just like that, and then I'm going to go down the stitch and into the next row, and then I'm going to go back to the left side. And just that should be pretty good to go. And that's all you need to do to weave in your ends. Go ahead and cut it right at the base of that strand, but make sure not to cut your stitches. And then do the same thing with all the other strands that you have. And now you have your very own infinity scarf. So this is where we seamed our rows together. This is what it will look like. It's a little bit bulkier, but when you're wearing it, you're not really going to be able to notice and you can't really tell. So what we're going to do is flip our work inside out, and this is what our seam looks like on the other side. Well, there you have it. You have your Starlight Infinity Scarf that I hope you love as much as I do. If you have any questions about this pattern, just leave them in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as I get the chance. Whenever you're finished with your Starlight Infinity Scarf, I would love to see them. You can either post it on Instagram and tag me at Sigoni Macaroni, and you can use Sigoni Macaroni as a hashtag or use LTC Challenge as your hashtag, or do both. If you're not on Instagram, you can also join the Facebook group and post all of your pictures there. And if you don't have Instagram or Facebook, feel free to send me an email. My email is hello@sigonimacaroni.com, and I would love to see your pictures there too. Again, post your pictures wherever you can and tag me so I can see them. And like I said earlier, this is our very last lesson of this series. Tomorrow we still have another video going out. I'm going to be talking about all of the next steps that you can take now that this course is over. If you still want to download a free sample of my Learn to Crochet ebook, you can find that linked in the description box below. As always, I'm your instructor, Sigoni, and I will see you tomorrow for our last video in this series.